Well, it wasn't that long ago. You might have seen Lori Truex standing out on a street corner with a big sign asking for help with her daughter's tuition. And it made news because obviously it was an unusual move and a one in which that actually was met with a fair amount of success. And we're here today to catch up with Lori and talk a little bit about how things shook out. Lori Truex, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for asking me.
So you reached your goal, did you?
Very, very close.
Okay. This was, and just to recap, we talked about this. We showed a video. We talked with you as you were out there doing your work. We interrupted things, or maybe we didn't, actually, because folks were still rolling up and handing over a donation to you while we spoke to you. But this was a decision that you decided to make, maybe not just for the money reasons, but to call attention, to shed spotlight on how difficult this really can be. Talk a little bit, for those who haven't heard you talk about it, about how you arrived at the decision to do what you did.
It was just one of those kind of crazy ideas. Middle of the night, 2 a.m., you can't sleep. How are we gonna pay for this?
Yeah.
We've been through the situation once before, starting in 2007, and there doesn't seem to be a better answer even all these years later.
Mm-hmm.
Parent Plus loans are very complicated, and it just, I don't know, it just evolved.
Right. So you have two daughters. This is your younger daughter, who's now gone off to Michigan State, and as a result of the largesse of those who stopped and offered you their support and assistance. But the point you were making was folks with average incomes making ends meet might be surprised at the cost of college.
I know we were. When that initial bill comes and they give you the estimate of tuition at $30,000, after your FAFSA form, ours happened to say $4,100. There's a big gap between $4,100 and $30,000.
Right. So the financial aid form that folks fill out, the notion was it was going to be covered.
Well, or there would be some sort of tuition assistance, something other than Parent Plus loans.
Right. And it ended up being sticker shock.
It was a very large sticker shock. We listened to all the experts back in 2007. They tell you don't rob from your retirement account. You're only robbing from your future self. And so we listened to them then. And then the economy tanked, 2008, 2009. And his 401k was gutted. And so had we used it, at least we would be debt-free right now. And we're still standing at $60,000 in Parent Plus loans. And we make that payment every month, but it does not go down. 1 penny goes to principal.
And you're talking about your husband's retirement.
Yes.
And so these are the loans for your older daughters.
Correct.
Right? So here you are faced with that, and now the second daughter was ready to go, and you knew what you were up against.
A little bit. We had hoped there had been some changes in between, and unfortunately there haven't been. And there hasn't been that discussion with our legislatures, anything on how to make the situation more affordable for working class parents. You're either low enough income where you do get assistance, or you have enough income to afford it.
Right.
And everybody in the middle.
Yes, there's a lot of us in the middle. So the reaction was from both sides, wasn't it? You heard from folks who were so supportive they, wheeled their cars to the side of the road and jumped out and supported you, and then there were others who weren't so supportive. We saw that too, and we talked about it on the air and on the web. How are you feeling about all that today?
That's okay. You know what? I didn't ask anyone's permission to do this. My own family didn't know until a couple of days before it started. They had no idea. And that's okay as long as we can hold a discussion. And I think that it's ironic that an average mom from middle-class America, it's obvious there's a problem if it would drive me out to do something like this.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the teacher in Oklahoma whose husband suggested she go panhandle in order to raise money for her school supplies for her classroom. So I think that makes it obvious that there's a problem.
Mm-hmm. So you and your husband are both working, and you've tried to save money and all of that stuff. I think that this situation opened up questions about that, but you've been forward about that. You've been clear.
Oh, I've been very honest.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone thinking that this would be an easy lifestyle choice. I wouldn't want to have to make it. I can't imagine it's anyone's idea of making a quick buck. I knew where I was going home that night. I knew where my next meal was coming from. What I didn't know is how we were going to come up with this money to pay tuition. We pay our bills. We both go to work every day. I was searching for summer jobs all summer. That was a huge concern of the public. I was looking for more employment.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, being a school bus driver, a lot of employers know that when the schools start back up again, we're not going to have the availability they need, and are less inclined. And my coworkers are in the same boat too.
Right. The summer break is a temporary thing, and they're looking for something more lasting than that.
Correct.
Yeah. Would you do this again?
No, I set this up as a social experiment, and that was one of the reasons why I nicknamed it One Mom, 1 Year. I feel totally blessed by this entire summer, and everyone I've met and come in contact with, everyone has a story, a concern, either for or against, and that's all right, as long as we can talk about this as adults. What I am really disappointed in is that when I sent these press releases out in June, I also invited our elected officials to participate, to start a discussion. What can be done? Not one single person reached out to me, either in person or online, to have that discussion, and that's what I had hoped to spark.
So when you say no lawmakers reached out to you, will you continue to try and get their attention?
Maybe not in this manner, but, I think our elected officials need to remember I'm a mom and I vote. My family votes. And a situation like this almost being ignored by them, even with the media there. And usually when the media came on board, I thought they would be more likely to come on board too. And when that didn't happen, I'm very discouraged.
What do you want to hear from them?
I want to hear that this is going to be a priority. There are millions of families. I've heard from thousands and thousands of them. They're just like we are. They're caught in the middle. These loans, these Parent Plus loans, they will guarantee your Social Security checks into retirement. And I've been told by a financial aid officer that we're headed towards the next housing-like bust. And it's going to be over student loans.
I've heard that too. All of this debt that is shouldered as a result of this is going to explode at some point.
Exactly. Kids are returning back home. They can't move away from mom and dad's. They graduate. They have so much debt. They have to live at home. I heard from a Jimmy John's driver. Her sister just graduated from Ferris State with a pharmacy degree and $180,000 in loans.
Oh, my. All of it in loans, practically.
Yes, every bit of it.
So how much did you end up raising?
We raised a total of $10,272.30.
Oh, my.
What a blessing.
Wow. That's incredible. So that's going to cover the first year, or at least a good part of it?
A very good part of it. $5,400 was on from a GoFundMe account online, and the other $4,872.30 was either on the street here in Battle Creek, or some people sent some checks to our credit union. A couple even came to our house. They had looked us up online. So, yeah, it was such a blessing, and everyone was so generous, and we appreciate it so much.
So their words of support had to do with either understanding the nature of the problem or living through it themselves.
Correct.
Is that fair to say? Now, if someone came up to you and was opposed to what you were doing, what did you hear most as the reasons why?
The fact that they had managed to do this and never asked anyone for a penny.
Mm-hmm.
A little judgmental, get another job. We've tried working through this.
Yeah.
You know, we've tried, my husband works overtime. I take extra trips. We've tried to do everything in our power. Kendall works. She had 3 separate jobs plus house and pet setting.
Mm-hmm.
So she was doing what she could also. And this was never fund a kid's college education to keep them debt-free. Kendall took out her undergrad loans. I believe she has...
and all your papers here.
Yes. She has $5,500 in undergrad loans right now.
Okay.
So this is not send a kid to college debt-free.
Yeah.
She has skin in this game, and I think that's important.
Right. You didn't end up with a blank check.
No.
Right.
And it was never intended to be. And she's never had access to this money. This money is only for tuition and books.
Mm-hmm. So would you be willing to somehow carry the ball further? That is to say, keep nagging your legislators and maybe get the support of the folks who stopped their cars and handed you $20 to say, join me in a grassroots effort to call more attention to this problem.
I would love that. And that was part of this.
Okay.
Is become more socially aware. What can you do? Who can you talk to? We ended up lucking in. A lot of it's dumb luck right now.
Mm-hmm.
You either meet the right people at the right exact moment. And in 2007, we didn't have that. We met a great financial aid officer at Michigan State University, and she was instrumental in helping us figure this out. But without her, we'd still be floundering through Parent Plus loans.
Mm-hmm. So how about your daughter? Is she doing okay today? This probably was a lot of attention for her.
It was. There was a lot of some negative attention. Facebook seems to open up a very dark place where people feel comfortable. She didn't ask for this. And like I said, she knew nothing about it in advance.
Yeah.
It came as a big shock to my entire family.
Well, I see what you mean, and I've seen it too in the business that I'm in, that the internet, even if it's Facebook and there's a name attached, allows people to be more blatant in their comments than they might be if they were looking at you, standing in front of you. Is that fair to say?
Oh, that's more than fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't ask anyone for permission, and I'm not going to beg their forgiveness, but I would like to have held a conversation. And I think the most hurtful was people that know us know that we have never asked anybody for a dime, ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've always managed. And I think their comments, and of course, everyone wants to show you the negative comment on their phone. I'm not on Facebook.
Yeah.
So I skated probably freer than my kids did.
Yeah.
Because they're so attached to it. But everybody wants to show you the negative comments. And, it does hurt more when it's people that you know and have been friends with for years and know your family. And those do hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But why is it we're so quick to believe the negative things people say and so slow to believe good things?
Right. Yep. That seems to be the way we work sometimes. So any regrets at all about any of this?
No, not a single one. I did what I felt like I could this summer. Everyone has been, I've learned so many lessons. There are 1,000 more nice, caring, generous people in this world than mean ones. And and I've learned, don't judge people. You don't know what they've gone through.
Mm-hmm. All right. So if folks have an interest in supporting you in this grassroots effort to call attention to this tremendous pressure that some families are under to make this happen for their kids, is there a way to find you? Can they reach out to you somehow?
Sure. They can always reach out.
Maybe an email address or something?
My email address is LoriTruex@att.net.
Okay, and I think I even have it. So we'll put a story up that includes a link, and folks can send you an email if they want to, and maybe there's an organized effort that's in the future here
that would be really great.
Calls more attention to this. Well, good for you. This was a gutsy move, and you got out there and did it, and called attention to the struggles of this that are not easy to do. So, hats off to you.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for being with us today and talking about this, and we'll check in again after a while. Lori Truex, the Battle Creek tuition mom, whom you might have seen on the roadside in Battle Creek asking for help and calling attention to the cost of college.